All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the talk about teaching partly out of field, the case of teachers in Germany's subject integrated natural sciences. This is just my abstract. I put it there. Maybe sometimes the first slide stays on a long time. So, but I'll start here with the subject itself and how it's implemented in Germany. Well, the traditional approach to natural sciences is to have 3 separate subjects: biology, chemistry, and physics, starting in grade 5, and then on till the end of the school, taught by up to 3 teachers. And the integrated approach would be 1 integrated subject taught by 1 teacher. So this is kind of the framework, and we see on the map of Germany that there's really a varied rate of implementation. I'll get to that in a moment. But from the teacher's perspective, it's of course important how are they educated, and they have 2 subjects in their university studies, usually leading up to a Master's of Education, and then an 18 months, well, that depends, 18 to 2 years state organized teacher training preparatory service phase. And so we can already see, well, they only have 2 out of 3 subjects at the most. A lot of them have a 1 natural science subject, and then something completely unrelated. It could be math, it could be a social science or a language, it could be physical education. And well, this is kind of how they're educated. And well, the subject integrated natural science has a long and varied history in Germany, and there's been a lot of debate about it. I mean, internationally, it's a lot more clear that we have some kind of integrated science approach, at least in the middle school years. And I guess there are a lot of arguments for and against it. But as of now, a lot of them are really just arguments. They're not really verified, a lot of verified results to back it up, but we won't go into the details here. Maybe just one look back at the map. It is very varied, and it depends a lot of on the school type as well. And this will be also the case for the region that I'm looking at. So what could even be understood as integrated natural science, some kind of knowledge view or curriculum approach that is applying methodology and language from more than 1 discipline to examine some kind of theme or problem in school teaching. That would be like a broad definition. And of course, this is mostly why we're here. Integrated teaching leads to out of field teaching, or partly out of field teaching, and which in turn has multiple challenges for teachers, as well as of course some advantages as well. But we'll mostly hear about the challenges, I guess. And the focus of this study is the middle and high school type, called Integrierte Gesamtschule, or comprehensive school, where which goes from grade 5 to 13, the end of school in Germany, and it has the integrated science subject in grades 5 till 10. Yet the specific implementation varies a lot by school. And it's kind of what Rafaela just said, I think, in regards to PE education, but it really depends a lot on the local implementation that is done by the departments very differently, is my impression. And it's not always in line with what has been given out by maybe the state authorities as the favorite approach. So my research interest is really describing the phenomena of teachers teaching partly out of field and of their expertise in the subject of integrated science, and the focus will be on generating hypothesis. The working definition for out of fieldness, or in this case, teaching partly out of field, is really just everyone who has not all three subjects, which is pretty much no one I'm aware of has all three subjects in their studies. And so we're in the case of out of field teaching within the sciences, as everyone I'm aware of has at least one of those certifications. So it's different than with math, for example, mathematics, where there are people that have no mathematics background or with PE in earlier years. So research questions would be, what do teachers experience in their school practice, and what kind of resources do they draw upon, and maybe under which circumstances do they seem to deal best with challenges they seem to face, and what kind of identity patterns are teachers displaying. And in today's presentation, I'll focus on how teachers themselves describe their self-image. So the question would be, are they seeing themselves as science teachers or more as specialists or something else? And the research context and level of the study is on the personal context and teaching practice context, and therefore mostly on the micro level, the teachers, and maybe to some extent just their school support. Desired outcomes of the study then would be some kind of typology to describe the phenomenon and description of their experience, and to compare to other types that have been found. The methods are semi-structured guided interviews per video conference and some biographical data, which are then analyzed qualitatively. Why no observation, one might ask. The instructional quality, for example, of teaching is not really stable, so we would need a lot of observations to really get a reliable measure. And so we go with the congruity theory that the shown beliefs corresponds with the actions teachers take. And also it's a lot more difficult to get teachers and administration to in-person observations. Going into schools is of course more difficult than to interview teachers outside of school. So we applied for 28 relevant schools in the German state of Lower Saxony, and did 15 interviews of roughly half an hour with teachers as they are specified here. So we have their university subject combination, at least one science subjects, and then we see a wide range. Mathematics, of course, is one that is often paired with a natural science, but there's also, for example, history, or I think I called it sports here. So physical education. Yeah. And they worked at different types of schools, the classical grammar schools, and then of course in the end of their or right now they're at some kind of comprehensive integrated school. Some of them were heads of their departments, some had PhDs. Their working experience is also one variable we could look at on the surface. And maybe to summarize, most of them, 12, did complete a full teacher education consisting of university studies in education and teacher training. Then some others, the remaining, they did only the teacher training and had some other studies before that. And the surface features of the group, age, gender, working experience, seem reasonably balanced. Working experience ranges from newly hired teachers to teachers with quite a lot of years of experience. And as I said earlier, we have new teachers and department heads. We have different school types that they taught at. And if we look at the subject composition, might say, well, chemistry is a little bit lacking. We have only one that studied it at a university level, but then in total 3 that had chemistry in their teacher training phase. So I guess it's balanced. Seem to lose the ability to go to the next slide every now and then. I'm sorry. Dip. I don't know why they.
Oh, it's weird.
That looks kind of weird.
You want to just share the slide there? Just go to the slide and
well, yeah. We were here really. Maybe this works.
Okay, yeah, that'll do. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, just of course we there was just information for the departments and teachers to sign up online if they're interested in the research project. They could book online. Oh, no, now it works. They would fill in their short professional CV. And yeah, sometimes the interviewees were won by personal recommendation, and somehow they a lot of them have some kind of affiliation to the city or the university. So that was, I guess, one of the reasons why they would sign up. So of course the selection is not representative, but I guess for a qualitative study that's not that big of a deal. And we did half-structured, open-guided interviews. So there was voluntary, no direct advantage for the interview. We wouldn't be allowed to pay them anything or something like that. The interview guide, which will be shown more specifically next slide, I think. Was interpreted more freely, so the specific wording of the questions varies. The interviews could answer freely, and then word-by-word transcription is what we did afterwards. So these are the main questions from the interview guide. How did you become a teacher for the subject natural sciences? So that was an open question to allow for their they could basically, some of them already went into a lot of detail covering further questions like what makes it special for you, how do you plan a lesson. All right. Can you still hear me and see me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
You've got about 4 minutes left, Jasper. I just thought I'd let you know. Yeah.
Thanks. And then we moved on to how they approach the partly out of field teaching and what is relevant to them, and then in the end, kind of how do they describe their self-image and how they would evaluate the subjects overall. Of course, yeah, we did a word-by-word transcription using automated local transcription with Whisper OpenAI, so that is data friendly to do it on your own computer. And we'll end up with a video if you want, where there's subtitles. But let's look at some preliminary results, and I try to combine to pull out one concise statement for every person in regards to the interview question, how they would describe their self image, and we'll see quite a variety from I'm a science teacher to I already see myself more as a specialist in any case, and I'll just show but two groups maybe one can already see. So cases seeing themselves as science teachers, strongly identifying with the concept of the subject, yeah, they acknowledge sometimes that it's dependent on the school where they teaching. So if there's only the integrated subject, they would feel as an integrated teacher. And for example, number 10 here, if I were to introduce myself for the grades 5 and 10, I would say I'm a science teacher. And then after that, he would say he's a specialist. Interestingly enough, this is a person that is very strongly committed to this approach. So, but even he sees it situatively. And it can also depend on the level. So teachers, of course, might feel more strongly as a science teacher in the lower grades where they feel it's not as complicated for them. Interesting, for example, also number 14, science teacher in training, despite having a degree, is how I would describe myself. So that's also the variation over time is built in that statement. Or some acknowledge that they have some kind of role, actually. Then, of course, there are the specialists as well that still think of themselves as of biology teacher, for example, but some of them also see the variation over time as a possibility. So they might grow into something more complete, so to speak. But for some, I think it's clear that they won't grow into something else. I mean, for example, number 9 is still thinks of a physicist first and foremost, so he is not even considering to be a teacher at this point. Interesting, maybe also number 3, who sees herself as a teacher first. Yeah. This might be it for the preliminary results first, and just to give you an insight what we're doing at the University of Göttingen to kind of deal with this situation. Most of the students feel that they're not really prepared for teaching integrated natural science, of course. So we put up an additional certificate program, roughly translated at teaching integrated natural sciences, where you would have pillars depending on what you study originally. So you'd look into pedagogical content knowledge and content knowledge of the remaining subjects, and then there's an module that is tackling the questions of integrating teaching practice. And we have so far roughly 20% reached 20% of the students, which I think is not too bad, considering that this is not a mandatory program, but is freely chosen. And yeah.
Okay.
With this, I'll end. Thank you very much. And